Hello everyone, welcome to Liberal Tarot. I'm Sherry and I'm a blue dot in a red state utilizing Tarot to help us navigate these current events and these current times that we have going on here in the United States. So welcome and thank you so much for joining me. The reading that I want to do today is an update to birthright citizenship. Okay, so let me pull this up here real quick. That camera's weird. Okay, so with I did a reading on this about 3 weeks ago, and at the time I said, it's looking like the Supreme Court is going to take that case, and that was not a Tarot moment, that was not an intuitive moment, that was being reported that the Supreme Court had been asking for additional information from all the parties involved concerning birthright citizenship, and so at that point it was being reported that it looked like they were likely going to take that case, and I did that reading back then based on that idea that yes, in fact, they were going to take that case. Okay, so now here we are, and they have agreed to take this case. Now I want to and I said this in the first reading, and I want to just make sure I clarify with this, because I'm seeing a lot of people not understanding exactly what it is that the Supreme Court is hearing. It's called the birthright citizenship case because that's the case attached to the kind of a more procedural thing that they're actually hearing the case on. Okay, so what they're actually hearing is, and what the Trump administration has brought, is working through its way through the courts, and the Supreme Court has agreed to take, is this idea of, can a federal judge put a nationwide injunction in? Okay, so against an administration. So and the vehicle that got it here to the Supreme Court is birthright citizenship. Okay, so the court is hearing this case not based on whether or not birthright citizenship should stand. They're hearing it on whether or not a judge can put a nationwide injunction in against against any administration. And I looked up the history of this, and it has been affirmed throughout lower courts. It's never made its way to the Supreme Court. It's always been affirmed. This is kind of and both sides, both Democrats and Republicans, have said that judges shouldn't be able to do this. But as I said, it's always been affirmed in any of the other courts. Okay, this is kind of the first time it's made its way to the Supreme Court. The best I can tell. So, there could be other stuff out there, but as the research I did, that's what it was showing. So what I'm wanting to do is I want to look at, now that they're going to take the case, how are they going to rule? In previous reporting, as I said, this wasn't a Tarot moment. This was, actual reporting, was that they could say that a judge can't do a nationwide injunction while at the same time saying, but birthright citizenship stands. Okay, so is that going to be kind of what they do? Are they going to, and the other thing that I was thinking of, a month ago, we were so naive back then. We were so young back then a month ago. And this court is seeing now exactly what the Trump administration does. You give him an inch and he's going to take a mile. He's not going to take more than a mile. He doesn't even care what you're ruling. So I'm wondering if that is going to play into this as well. Okay, so base reading, what's the Supreme Court going to rule? And then I do want to see, kind of where that goes from there. And are they going to carve out? Because if a nationwide injunction isn't allowed, then that means that you will have persons in some states that are considered U.S. citizens, but not in other states. So that, that's why and it also would be allowing the Trump administration to line veto the Constitution. I don't know that that is something that the Supreme Court, that the majority is going to want to do. We do not get to start vetoing, line item vetoing of the Constitution. Okay, so I just kind of want to check in with what the Supreme Court is going to do with that. As I said in that previous reading, which I will link here, I think that it'll be on this side, the original reading, and I got that they would uphold birthright citizenship. Okay, so I'm just going to check in to make sure we're still on that same path. Okay, as always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, So Supreme Court hearing this, and what I'm going to ask is, how are they going to rule on the nationwide injunction? Because that's actually what they're looking at. So nationwide injunction. How is the Supreme Court going to rule? Are they going to allow the federal courts to put in these nationwide injunctions, or are they going to give Trump what he wants? Okay, so nationwide injunctions. That's what I'm looking at. Okay. This is, I mean, the very first card that comes up is the burden. So, I want to see kind of what else comes up here, because this could be read, a couple of different ways. It could be, the federal courts, yes, are allowed to assume that burden, for, the rest of the country. Yes, we can do that. We can put a stop to things for the country, or it could also be read as it's too much of a burden for the federal courts to do that. So let's see what else comes up here. Very quickly, this is, just a lot of messaging, a lot of, very quickly they're making this decision that the Constitution has spoken. Okay. And people rejoice. The courts, and I'm going to say, this is the courts, the Constitution. This is, the reason I'm saying the Constitution is, this is something of, the pinnacles are going to be those practical, tangible things. Our Constitution is a tangible document, and it has said who citizens are. We decide. The Constitution, meaning the Constitution, has already decided who gets to be a citizen. And the courts are doling out justice for that. They are saying that, so I was asking about the injunction, and it's tied to citizenship. So I think that they're going to be upholding this. They're saying, yes, in fact, a judge can assume this for all the states. And they're going to be very quick about that. Very quick. And people rejoice. And, the courts hold. The Constitution holds. Justice holds. And I see, the justice here, the scales of justice here in both of these cards. And the moon card. This is a little concerning. The moon card, like something behind the scenes, something underneath the surface, something that we don't see yet. So the moon card. It could also be, if they write another vague opinion, have a vague ruling that the Trump administration tries to worm their way around it. I mean, there was 9-0, bring him home, and yet because they used the word facilitate, and the Trump administration has twisted that word around to mean, well, facilitate just means we just have to take a plane, and we're not doing that. So, yeah, are they going to try to twist this around no matter what the court rules? And I want more on this moon card. So what's more on this moon card? And I'll just do 3 cards on that, the moon card here. Yeah, this is a card of happy, like in the past. So like nostalgia. But this could also be, like not learning our lessons, like wanting to go to a past that never existed for our country. Like they're doing this in the name of, security of our country. And the Supreme Court is going to tie their hands. Okay. Hands being tied, stress, anxiety. This liberal court is just, I can't wait to start hearing, the maggots start calling, Chief Justice Roberts a rhino. And they already have with, Amy Coney Barrett. If this is another 9-0, ruling, can you imagine Alito and Thomas being called rhinos? I don't think that, I don't think that is going to be something that happens, though. I think that Thomas and Alito, I was surprised in the 9-0 rulings. I think that they're going to try to give Trump what he wants, but the majority of the court here is like tying his hands, okay, and the stress and anxiety. So, one question that I had coming up was, will the red states ignore it? Will Trump ignore this and the red states? Okay. So, these cards I got that, yes, the courts were going to rule in favor of a nationwide injunction. If they don't rule in favor of the nationwide injunction, they are going to carve out a piece for birthright citizenship. Okay, that I see is still holding. So what will the Trump administration do in the red states? Okay, what will Trump and red states do? Because right now it's just the blue state AGs that have brought this case. None of the red states that I'm aware of have. Definitely not my red state. So what will they do? Will they just ignore the rulings? Okay, with that, some people are going to be left out in the cold, so I think that they are going to try that. Expect more. They're walking away from the justice here. So yeah, I expect them to ignore that. We get to decide. And this is somebody who, we want to be the ones to decide this, and not on a legal basis, but because it's what we want. Okay, notice there's not legal basis here for this stuff. It's just we want what we want, and we don't care what you tell us. Pam Bondi there. She's, if you know, in previous readings, I always get her, the Queen of Wands comes up, or Pam Bondi comes up as the Queen of Wands. She's going to be out there being, Trump's little cheerleader. And ignoring it, I think putting it into, what the Supreme Court said, they're not going to listen. And state of suspension. How long are they going to be allowed to get away with this? Because, that's going to be another, as soon as they ignore that, that's going to be another case, that is going to be working our way through. So it's like, expect another case yet again with this. Yeah, they're going to doing what they want. And this could be one of those red states, they're planning for this. They're planning what they're going to do. And, yeah, they're talking about what they're going to do. And this card as I brought two, up there. So I'll go ahead and put that one out. The World card. Yeah, getting what they want. So they're going to do with this. They're looking for ways to do this anyway, but expect with this sword, or with this Hanged Man here, this is going to be another, like, if they try ignoring the courts, there's going to be another case brought up and another injunction. Very much like what we're seeing with the Mr. Abrego Garcia, is that the Supreme Court rules, Trump tries, is ignoring it. There's still court stuff going on. So it's like that same feeling of, yes, they're going to try to ignore the courts. And Pam Bondi's right there, leading the charge there. So, yeah, I don't, how does this finally end? How does this finally end? Is birthright citizenship ultimately upheld? This is positioning positioning yourself to overcome the sun, shining a light on this situation, So yes, I think that, a righteous cause, we're going to see more of, we learned so much about them through their court filings, and that they are doing whatever they want, and it doesn't matter what the courts say. So yeah, I think that's just going to be more of the same. So while the courts uphold it, don't expect the Trump administration to uphold it. And that's when you're going to start getting like more cases with that. So yeah, this is not going to be the last we hear of this at all. It's just going to be more of the same that we have come to expect from this administration, of just thumbing their nose at the courts and not caring. And that Pam Bondi will come up with very creative legal thing, and it's not even legal. It's like, no, we won. It's like, no, you totally didn't. It's like, no, we did. It's like, no, but you didn't, and MAGA is out there just cheering away, not, and they're cheering on these lies. It's like, you don't even understand what this is about. So, yeah, the courts are going to hold. The courts are going to uphold birthright citizenship. It looks as though, because they see what is going on with this administration, that right now that nationwide injunction needs to stand, because it is putting a stop to, I can't even say it's putting a stop to the worst of it, because they did not turn those planes around from that headed to El Salvador. So Yeah, this is just going to be another one of those court cases that we watch, and we'll see how maybe at some point the Republicans will get a spine, especially those moderate Republicans, and kind of start pushing back and, combining or joining with the Democrats on this. So, yeah, right now as it stands, it's just going to be more of the same. So, but the courts hold. So that's good to know. So that is very good to know. We'll take that win right now as we can get it. So thank you for joining me. As I said, I'll link the original reading that I did right here, and then also subscribe will be up here too. And it's really interesting to check out some of those previous readings, especially ones that were like over a month ago with that. So thank you for joining me, and I will catch you on the next reading. Have a great day.